Imagine living in a picture-perfect family with 19 children, seemingly unshakable and full of love. But what if everything came crashing down in an instant? Michelle's shocking decision to marry again, followed by the explosive news of a pregnancy, left everyone stunned. What really happened? What did Jim Bob do to push Michelle to such extremes? Stay tuned as we unravel this jaw-dropping tale that changed their family forever. You won't believe the twists and turns in this unbelievable story. Watch till the end to uncover the truth. Over the years, fans of the Duggar family have witnessed a fascinating evolution within the 19 children shared by Jim Bob and Michelle Duggar. Raised in a strict, ultra-conservative Christian household, these children were initially expected to uphold the family's rigid traditions and beliefs. However, as the years passed, some of the Duggar children began to break away from these values, challenging the very foundation of their upbringing. One of the most notable figures in this shift is Jinger Duggar. In 2016, just after her wedding to Jeremy Vuolo, Jinger made a surprising move by breaking the family's long-standing rule of wearing only long skirts. She began wearing pants, a seemingly small but highly significant change that set off a ripple effect within the Duggar family. Her bold choice inspired several of her sisters to follow suit, slowly dismantling the family's strict dress code. This change in wardrobe wasn't just about fashion, it was a symbolic shift, signaling that the Duggar children were beginning to embrace the idea of personal freedom and individuality, something previously discouraged in their upbringing. Similarly, Josiah Duggar made headlines in 2018 when he chose to go on a date with his then-fiancée, Lauren Swanson, without a chaperone, an essential requirement for any Duggar courtship. In a family where every courtship and relationship is heavily supervised, Josiah's decision to break this tradition marked a major departure from Duggar norms. The move was met with mixed reactions from the Duggar community, with some applauding Josiah for his independence, while others criticized him for defying the rules. Then there was Jill Duggar, who took another bold step in 2020 when she openly admitted in an interview with People that she drinks alcohol. This was particularly shocking to fans because the Duggar family had long been known for their staunch opposition to alcohol consumption, considering it incompatible with their faith-based values. Jill's revelation symbolized yet another crack in the seemingly perfect facade of the Duggar family, as more children began to assert their independence and push back against the restrictions they had been raised under. Jessa Duggar also made waves when he broke from tradition in a truly significant way during his wedding to Maddie Grace. Weddings in the Duggar family are often meticulously planned with strict adherence to family traditions, including no dancing, no alcohol, and no secular music. But Jason and Maddie's wedding was different. Despite the fact that dancing and pop music are frowned upon within the Duggar household, the couple had a first dance at their reception, which was a first in the family. Moreover, they hired a DJ who played popular songs, inviting the guests to join in the fun. This was a major departure from Duggar tradition and was seen as a sign of change within the family. Jason and Maddie's wedding was groundbreaking not just because of the dance, but because it represented a growing movement within the Duggar children to embrace more modern and personal expressions of joy. Jinger Duggar and her husband Jeremy Vuolo, who had previously embraced some of these changes, acknowledged the shift on their podcast, the Jinger and Jeremy podcast, after the wedding in October 2024. They reflected on the fact that Jason and Maddie's wedding was the first time a couple in the Duggar family had a first dance, and they were quick to point out how groundbreaking this was. In a family where tradition was held in such high regard, the idea of a DJ, dancing, and secular music was almost unimaginable, but Jason and Maddie's wedding proved that times were changing. The reception was a particularly eye-opening moment for the Duggar family. When Jinger and Jeremy discussed the event on their podcast, they shared how awkward the dance floor had been at the start. Many of the guests, especially the older members of the family, were unaccustomed to dancing, having been raised in an environment where it was not allowed. The dance floor remained mostly empty until the DJ played songs like Cha-Cha Slide and YMCA, songs with instructions for accompanying dance steps. That's when the dance floor finally filled up, as the guests followed the simple steps of these well-known songs. Jinger even admitted that no one knows how to dance, explaining that dancing simply wasn't a part of their culture growing up. Despite the awkwardness, Jason and Maddie's wedding signaled a significant shift in Duggar culture. For Jason, who had been part of a family where dancing and secular music were strictly forbidden, including dancing at his wedding was a profound act of defiance against his upbringing. His wedding was just one example of how the Duggar children were starting to carve out their own paths, redefining what it meant to be a Duggar. Interestingly, Jason and Maddie's relationship had already demonstrated how different they were from the traditional Duggar courtships. When they first announced their courtship in May 2024, they posted a photo of Jason holding Maddie's hand and twirling her around on the beach. This image was a far cry from the formal, chaperoned courtships that had been the norm in the Duggar family. It seemed that dancing had already played a meaningful role in their relationship, and their wedding reflected that. In addition to the major break from tradition at Jason's wedding, other Duggar siblings have also embraced more modern ways of living. For instance, in 2014, Jessa Duggar, Jason's older sister, deviated from tradition in a smaller, but still significant way when she opted for a light pink wedding dress instead of the traditional white gown, and swapped a large wedding cake for ice cream sundaes. These small changes were just the beginning of a wider trend of rebellion against Duggar customs. One of the more extreme breaks from tradition came in 2020 when Jinger, her husband Jeremy, and their 2 children moved to Los Angeles, another sign that they were distancing themselves from the Duggar family's strict lifestyle. Jinger's move to California was seen by many as a bold declaration of independence, as she embraced a more secular and modern lifestyle compared to her family's rural, conservative lifestyle. Over the years, fans have also witnessed some heartbreaking moments in the Duggar family. Tragedy, loss, and difficult life changes have come into play as the family has been thrust into the public eye. While the show 19 Kids and Counting may have initially depicted a perfect family with a wholesome image, the reality of life behind the camera has been far more complex. One of the more emotional moments occurred when Michelle Duggar made a shocking decision to marry again after hearing some surprising news from Jim Bob, her husband. This sudden change stunned the Duggar family and their fans alike. Michelle's decision to marry so suddenly and the subsequent news of her pregnancy sent shockwaves through the family. It wasn't just the unexpected marriage that raised. The reality of life behind the camera has been far more complex. One of the more emotional moments occurred when Michelle Duggar made a shocking decision to marry again after hearing some surprising news from Jim Bob, her husband. This sudden change stunned the Duggar family and their fans alike. Michelle's decision to marry so suddenly and the subsequent news of her pregnancy sent shockwaves through the family. It wasn't just the unexpected marriage that raised.